So, last night on WWE SmackDown, which is now 3 hours, and I understand most of you enjoy it, and good for you. I thought it was a little bit stretched out, but that's neither here nor there. We had a very interesting opening promo when Paul Heyman walked to the ring. Now, I do have to say, if I was part of the original bloodline, I'd be so mad at Roman Reigns. I'd be like, now you're sending Paul Heyman out to talk like the authorization of what you want to do? You're the tribal chief, man, and you need to turn up. Now, listen, what's his real name? Joe Anawai, I believe. Fair play to him, man, for getting all this time off. He has deserved it, but purely from a narrative point of view, he just never turns up to help anybody, to the point Cody Rhodes is now helping Jimmy Uso. It really made me laugh. However, I actually think this may be tying into something. Paul Heyman comes to the ring and says, it's done. We ain't talking about it no more. When it comes to the Ula Fala, it belongs to Roman Reigns. He's our tribal chief. Let's all bow down at his feet and definitely not kiss it, because that would be weird. However, he's made his intentions known. Cody, please come to the ring. Cody's a nice guy, and he does do this. And he said to him, he wants that championship back. He's going to do it somewhat honorably. So Roman Reigns is entering the Royal Rumble. Now, of course, entering the Royal Rumble does not mean he's going to win the Royal Rumble. The very cool thing about this is that with WrestleMania 41 on the horizon, you could go in about 32 different directions. There's now rumors popping up that maybe we will do The Rock versus Roman Reigns. I'm convinced it's going to happen at SummerSlam, if it's going to happen at all, in 2025. But obviously, as soon as you do sort of put that into the ether, that Roman Reigns wants to challenge Cody and he's going to enter the Royal Rumble, it certainly could happen. Because on paper, can you main event another WrestleMania with Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns? Absolutely. And if I was in charge, you can almost hazard, or make the argument, I should say, that you do want to do it at 41, because then you have the trilogy back to back. We did it at 39. Roman wins. We did it at 40. Cody wins, and he finishes the story. And then 41 makes it super duper interesting, because I do think you'd have to play it right down the middle. Like, even though last year's was tribal combat, whatever you want to call it, the year before wasn't, but it was still filled with shenanigans. We just bumped a bunch of referees. So you'd almost have to do this in reverse, and I think you'd almost have to play WrestleMania 49 like one-on-one, no interference, best man wins, mano a mano, and all of that, and build it up that way. I mean, that's kind of what we did for Austin versus The Rock in WrestleMania 17 in terms of its seriousness. There was actually a lot of goofiness when you go back and watch it, and you had the crazy ending. But if you kind of could capture the same feeling that people had leading into that one, which is not easy, by the way, but pitch it as face of the WWE versus face of the WWE, who's the ultimate champion in the final battle, and after this is going to go off in two different directions, I think people would buy into it. It all depends on what you're going to do on the Saturday night main event, which is the main event of WrestleMania. I can't stand this stupid argument that people are having. I do understand saying there's more gravitas to the Sunday one, because we've had that for the last 41 years, or whatever it is. We're not poo-pooing on someone working really hard in wrestling, getting that Saturday night one, and then having the audacity, well, you know what, you're allowed your opinion, but it irks me for whatever reason. Or it's not a real main event. That's just not fair. Doesn't need to be said. We should move on to something else. But there are many things you could do there. You could do a CM Punk versus a Seth Rollins part 2. If a world championship is on the line, I still think a CM Punk versus a Gunther is very interesting if there's a title there. And really, CM Punk in any kind of world title scenario on that night one, you have the story of finally CM Punk getting his main event at WrestleMania. You have him going for a world championship. A lot of people are going to buy into that. And if you do jump to Sunday night, and you have to make sure that fans know it's Cody versus Roman the last time for a long while, at least sort of like 3, 4, potentially even 5 years. If you want to do it when they're past 40, fine. You can have another think about it. But then it doesn't feel like we're going to the well one too many times, because there's some serious stakes to it. And I'm probably wrong here, because I often forget things because I'm an idiot. I don't think we've ever done a match 3 times back-to-back at WrestleMania, and certainly not in the main event. Like the one that first comes to mind, obviously The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, 2 of the best matches in WWE history. I'm sure we'd all agree with that. And did Shawn Michaels and Brown, they didn't do that either, no. As I ponder off and look into the distance, which is not what I should be doing, because we should be having a conversation. But I'm certainly not against it. Now, I'm sure The Rock comes into play here as well. What is he going to do? But there's also the plan B that was thrown out there last week, which goes to show, I don't care what anyone says, I think WWE is still exploring their options. You can do Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, and you can do Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. And if somebody put a gun to my head, as I always say, I think that's probably what I would try and do if I was in charge. Even more so, because there was another murmuring yesterday as I am talking to you, that it could be Gunther versus Logan Paul. That's super duper interesting. Now, I do not think that Gunther would still be the world champion by then, and if he is, no, Logan Paul should not be in that match at WrestleMania. The Logan Paul obviously is a controversial character. I totally understand it. He divides people right down the middle. I know a lot of wrestling fans are quite rightfully irked by him, but surely of all the people, if you are in this camp, you want to see Logan Paul fight, it's Gunther. Or Sheamus. Sheamus would be the other one. Check out Sheamus on Chris Van Vliet's podcast. It is a wonderful listen. If you didn't love that man before, you will love him afterwards. But Gunther is going to chop the shit out of that guy. And no way Logan could turn up and go, I don't want to be chopped. Everyone would go, you're being chopped, bro. He chopped The Undertaker. Well, he didn't. You know what I'm saying, though. He's going to chop the life out of you. So a very interesting WrestleMania card. But I think WWE is in a really good position because it also begs the question, as we do kind of watch the television now, what does Drew do? I mean, what does Seth do in the scenario we just laid out there? What does a Kevin Owens do? What does a Sami Zayn do? A Jey Uso, a Jimmy Uso, a Jacob Fatu, a Tama Tonga? There are so many options on the table. And LA Knight, who at the moment is still trying to win the US Championship back. Maybe, given what we did on SmackDown, it's going to be Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight because, of course, it was LA Knight versus Shinsuke. Because LA had the great idea to throw out Jacob Fatu and help SmackDown management, I suppose. Obviously, the Bloodline 2.0 came back and screwed him over. Now, listen, in terms of the story, I loved it. In terms of another shenanigan finish, I was like, oh, it's too many. There's too many in wrestling. I think we need to come up with something new. But you can have these two feelings. Brains are funny old things. But if it is the first planting of seeds for Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight, that's an awesome feud because I think they'll have a great match. And I think Jacob Fatu would probably win. And that too would kind of stir up the audience because he's at such a high level. People do like him. But then what do you do with Tama Tonga? Could they be maybe in the tag title scene? There's loads to talk about. But Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns 3 pitched in the right way. And, you know, all the video packages in the world go back to showing the training vignettes. I always enjoy that, like we did with Bret Hart versus Shawn. WrestleMania 10, I think it was, whenever, maybe 12. I can't remember. My brain's useless. No, it was 12. I don't know. But do all of that and really pitch it like an old school boxing fight, an old school, whatever you want to call it, right? This title means something. But when that is done, you do have to go off in a different direction. But I don't know. This Rock thing is interesting. I don't think they have pivoted totally away from the Rock versus Roman Reigns. But as I've already mentioned, given that we do have a 2-night SummerSlam this year, you do need a huge match for that. You have to tell people, one, buy a ticket, and two, now this is actually becoming Hot WrestleMania. That's the levels we want to get SummerSlam to. And if you do want to start selling, 65,000 one night and 65,000 the other night for something like the Slam of the Summer, people have to believe it has WrestleMania qualities, and the only way to do that is with a mega over-the-top crazy match. I mean, really, just throwing another thing out there, you could do CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. I mean, you could do it if you wanted to, and people would be interested in that. And you could do Roman Reigns versus John Cena. I mean, don't do that. We've seen that too many times. But you could, right? It has main event worthy stuff. I just mentioned his name. I've already talked about it. John Cena would fight Cody Rhodes. But if Cody Rhodes takes on Roman Reigns, maybe you could do CM Punk versus John Cena. People would want to see that. Like 2011 must have been the last time they fought. No, it would have been more like 2012. The point is, it's been well over a decade. People will want to see that again. And CM Punk's going to have to bust out a pile driver. If you know, you know. But yes, other than SmackDown being too long, really enjoyed all the stuff around the women's title. I thought that felt really fun, especially because I may be watching it from my own point of view, but I'm convinced that Naomi's going to turn heel and that Jade Cargill will be back soon and say, Naomi, it was you that attacked me. And there was the finish that kind of teased that as well, I suppose. Depends how you watch it again. Because everyone was trying to pull at Bianca Belair's hair, which, as I said, on ups and downs, I can't relate to. It's very difficult for me. But there was like a ricochet effect. Not that guy. He didn't come back and stab Swerve Strickland in the head with some scissors. But when that happened, the hair went into Naomi, hit her in the tum-tum. Bianca Belair then took out Nia Jax when Bayley was like, well, I hit you with the rose plant, and she won. So next week, we're doing Bayley versus Tiffany Stratton for the championship. I think Naomi, maybe accidentally on purpose, could get involved there and stop Bayley. And that is actually one of the reasons why I'm not saying that it's bad we did the Bloodline stuff with LA Knight, but the more you hold off on that stuff, all of a sudden Bayley does do that, it just has a little bit more of an impact. But I would try and get Bianca Belair back into that title picture soon. Tiffany Stratton was awesome here. Because this is the best thing about new WWE. She was already getting cheered. She was already a babyface. So you don't need to change her character. That's how Vince McMahon ruined Diesel back in the day. If you were around in the mid-90s, Diesel was so over. And making him the champion was the right thing to do. But the clue was in the name. He was Big Daddy Cool. He was such a badass. And because Hulk Hogan had been on top for so long, as soon as we had given him the title, I was like, well, now you got to be Hulk Hogan. And he sold. I don't want to see Kevin Nash sell when he's 7 feet tall and smashing fools. That's what I want to see. It's a Goldberg conversation. But Tiffany Stratton is the same person. Very similar to Roman Reigns. He's still a bit of an emotional dickhead. But Tiffany was even like, I'm better than all your favorites, and everybody cheered. Nia Jax then won the day because she came out, called her an ungrateful piece of shib. She did not say shib, and after everyone had a big row, Nick Aldis came out and said, you know what, we're doing this match now. Very cool. And I get it, there's an argument there. Well, they should have advertised it beforehand. I don't care. I was watching the show anyway. So I got to enjoy it. Bayley does get the win, and yes, I don't think we're done here. I think all of these people, which would be Candice, Nia, Bianca, Naomi, Bayley, and Tiffany Stratton, that's 6 people. Will continue to kind of move the parameters. But that belt feels exciting, as does the one on Raw, because of course Rhea Ripley just won. So we're heading in good directions here. I'm pretty damn excited about it, which is the same for the US title. I just don't know. It just happens sometimes, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we do it again. But we can also incorporate the tag team stuff into this. We've now, the Street Profits, I believe, are actually injured. So all the best to those guys. But we got Los Garza versus Pretty Deadly. Los Garza won. We got DIY versus A-Town Down Under, who've just been randomly subbed in for the Street Profits, which is a bit lame. This is the way you should never really sort of throw any kind of team to the wolves, which is what we did do with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory and Braun Strowman. But it doesn't matter. You can be critical about it, but man, it flies past your head pretty damn quickly. But the point is, now we're doing Los Garza versus the Machine Guns, and then the winner of that will go on to take on DIY. DIY being super duper pricks backstage, which I do like as well. I actually think you can put another team in here. It could be the Bloodline 2.0. You could call up Fraxium and do something with them and make them the champions yesterday because they're the best. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because, of course, Penta and Phoenix, Pentagon debuts Monday, very exciting. But they clearly were meant to come in as a tag team. So I wonder if they were going to have the Los Garza spot. I mean, that's just what it feels like because, again, Los Garza just one day went, oh, hi, we're back again for no real reason. But at least they feel like they mean something. And during the back end of 2024, they just vanished. They'd fallen into the Phantom Zone, as had the Raw ones, so I really do think that should be a focus going forward in 2024. I think that was another reason people were a bit irked by the Netflix show. I mean, we saw the Viking Raiders, but they didn't do anything. They just won the championship. If you're a fan of them, you want them to come out and do something big wham, Hampty Man, and have a good time. But SmackDown was good. Again, all this stuff with Cody Rhodes is interesting. The tag match at the end, Jacob Fatu got the win over Jimmy Uso after Cody left his partner to fight Kevin Owens, and those two ended up smashing through a table and apparently continued to fight after the show was done, which I do enjoy. How you keep this going to the Royal Rumble, I don't know, but they're just superb talents, and I would love to tell you that Kevin Owens is going to win at the Royal Rumble, but he will not. But he needs something big going into WrestleMania. Be it something with Drew. I mean, they wouldn't really be fighting. But there's Sammy there, and there's the Bloodline stuff. Obviously, this is all going to converge. I would guess the WrestleMania program for, you know, at Sami Zayn, at Kevin Owens, at Drew McIntyre, Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso. I mean, I think they should become the SmackDown guys. I'm not saying that is a disparaging move or a demotion by any stretch of the imagination, because I get it, Netflix. But again, SmackDown is on Netflix over here in the UK. There's only USA that it's not. I'm sure there are other territories too. But it's not like you're being taken off Netflix. But I just think if you let all of those guys cook, it could be a tremendous show, much like all the stuff we did back in SmackDown in 2002 when Paul Heyman was in charge of SmackDown 6. Actually, that was a 7th person as well. So it's a good time to be a wrestling fan, to be honest. But I think WWE Raw on Monday will be far more of a Raw show. We can just get past the final boss stuff. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm not upset about it, but I understand the disappointment because, again, the final boss character is so good. That's why I wanted to see the Cody Rhodes match. That's where the disappointment comes from. Like, oh, man, as much as we like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the wrestling version of that character was just something so damn new and something so fresh, but at least we got it. I don't like how they stopped the story at all. Just shook hands, don't worry about it. But I can't be bothered to get focused on old beef. It was a shame, and I think in 5-10 years' time we'll look back and go, man, we really dropped the ball here. But The Rock then turns up and doubles the NXT audience, so I'm pretty sure WWE's happy all around. The point is, let's look at what we do have and not what we're not going to have. And as we do get on the road to WrestleMania, I think WrestleMania 41 and the Royal Rumble, again, can be all time. Roman Reigns declaring for that thing. It could be the most star-filled Royal Rumble in a long old time. And there's so many matches you can do for the main event. And of course, this is because CM Punk is back and John Cena is there. When was the last time Roman Reigns was in a Rumble? Roman Reigns was the champion for 1,316 days. My maths is terrible, 3, 6, 9, 12. So he must have at least not been in the last 4. And also, Roman Reigns is a terrible run in Royal Rumbles because he comes out and gets booed. Although now that would be fine because you could boo Roman Reigns now. He'll never get booed again. But you can do it. And I still don't think he's very much of a good guy. still think he's a bit of an asshole, but he's just super duper cool, which is also the best addition from this Netflix thing. So many people just tuned into that Raw and they all fell in love with Roman Reigns. Of course they did. Look at him. Tribal Chief, man. He's the head of the table. So, as we do get to the end of another wrestling week, it was good stuff. I liked AEW Dynamite. I've been told I'm wrong. Just Kenny Omega, man. He gets me excited. And we'll see what we do next week. Raw on Monday is a big deal. How long is it going to go? Are we going to get back to the stories? Are we still going to be pandering? Not in a bad way, wrong word. But you know what I mean, to a mainstream audience? I don't know. I think a better balance would be more appreciated by everyone. But we will see. SmackDown, could probably watch it on 2-speed. I never do. I feel like I should watch it like a real fan, whatever that means. But it was fine. Very excited for Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens. Now, please do click the video on the screen, which is my review from the Netflix Raw. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Just leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts over the last few days. And listen, there's a bunch of stuff in that description down there. Gorilla Mind, other social media, Pro Wrestling Tees. You can buy this stupid t-shirt and all those kind of things. So if you do want to get on board, that would be awesome too. Cameo, get a personalized video. Otherwise, thank you for the support. I appreciate it. I'll see you next week.